Uh, yes, happy afternoon, one and all. So, okay, once again, it is fantastic Sunday afternoon. So, going to experience SD 1.0 from Shivani. I personally knew her from my 8th standard. I know the way she is grown up, the amount of transformation she has gone through was really fantastic. And in fact, she is a very good dancer, especially on the Bharatanatyam dancer, and also a young entrepreneur. So looking forward to experience lots from you, Shivani. And the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So happy evening, happy afternoon to everyone present here. I'm Shivani, and I'm going to be doing my self-discovery today. Before that, let me give a small introduction about myself. I'm Shivani. I'm from Pollachi. I've completed my undergraduate degree in psychology, and now I'm doing my post-graduation in MBA and MSc in Yoga for Human Excellence, and also taking care of my dad's business. This is all is about me. So let's get into the session. So this is my UID, as you can all see. There's an X in my right frontal. So as we have learned in MiDNA, there is a lot of characteristics of X which is unpredictable. So one such unpredictable character and which influenced me a lot was my emotional imbalance. I had an emotional imbalance because of having X. I had extreme emotions, and whenever something happens that I don't like, or maybe in my organization or in my family, if something happens that I don't like, I just go into the extreme emotions. I didn't have that capacity to actually stay calm or neutral during those situations. So that was actually a very hard one for me to balance extreme emotions. So a lot of introspection on myself. I found that to get this emotional balance, I was during those emotional extremes, I had a feeling that my breath was not in my control. I had my heartbeat was very fast, and I was not able to stay calm in those situations. So luckily, I got an opportunity to learn about this prana control techniques. I wanted to share this because maybe a lot of you might experience the same as I'm experiencing. So generally this prana, the word prana means breath. As we all know, it is a Sanskrit word, and in English it has a lot of meanings like life force, a lot of meanings it has. So as a living being, we all have that ability to breathe, and that's a very basic process, and having that breath in our control can actually have a lot of positive impact on ourselves. So starting, I had a question of why should we balance our prana? So that was a question that I always had. So as I told you, during those extreme emotional situations, I was not able to control my mind. My mind was not silent. It was wavering. It was fluctuating. So doing this prana control techniques actually helped me a lot. Having this excess in the frontal, I had extreme emotions, and I was able to balance this with this prana. So before MiDNA, I had this much knowledge that prana can actually calm your mind. That was the knowledge that I had before MiDNA. But after coming to MiDNA, I was also able to relate this prana to our brain. So we know like brain has a lot of areas, and research has proved that a lot of areas of the brain are subtle and it is not activated. So when this prana is made to flow through that brain areas, all these subtle areas are being activated. So we have learned from MiDNA that we all have our strength and weakness when it comes to brain. Our brain has particular design, and we have certain strengths and weaknesses when it comes to that brain lobes. So when the energy is made to pass through all of these areas, and when all of these brain areas are activated, we can get the best out of what we are blessed with. So that's what is this prana connecting to brain. So there are a lot of prana control techniques in general. But the ones that I have used and benefited from is the bandhas. So generally speaking, we all may wonder what bandhas are. Actually, bandha means a bondage. So it is joining together. So bandhas actually help to retain the pranic energy within your body without getting dissipated or without getting flown out of your body. So it's just a technique to keep the energy within yourself. That is what is bandha generally. There are a lot of cautions of doing this bandhas, like and also benefits which accompany it. So all the organs are actually strengthened, and it gets a new life when this pranic energy flows through all of it. And mainly connecting it to MiDNA, brain centers are actually activated when we do this prana control techniques. But there are a lot of cautions also when we practice these bandhas. Like we have to know breathing controls, and it is very advisable to take it with a professional person who has a complete knowledge of it. With the guidance of that person, it is better to do these bandhas. The bandhas I have done, like these are the three types of bandhas which I have practiced in my own life, which is the Jalandhara bandha, Udyana bandha, and Moola bandha. So coming to this Jalandhara bandha, as you can see, it means a net or a mesh. So according to yoga, there is a digestive fire that is located in your stomach, and lunar plexus, which has a cooling effect, and that is located in your brain. So doing this Jalandhara bandha will help this fire, help prevent this fire being mixed with the coolness that is present in your brain. That is what is this Jalandhara bandha is actually about. And personally, I have done this Jalandhara bandha. As I've told you, when I experienced those extreme emotions because of my ex in the frontal lobe, I just do this Jalandhara bandha. It gives me a calming effect. As I've told you, my breath will not be in my control. So doing this Jalandhara bandha will actually calm my breath, and it will give a relaxing feeling after doing this Jalandhara bandha. So how do we do this Jalandhara bandha? Is like you have to sit comfortably on any place with a crossed leg position. Then you have to place your hand on your knees with the palm facing upward. You have to inhale so that your lung is at least 2/3 full, and then you have to retain your breath. After this, you have to drop your chin down and draw it back closer to your chest, making a double chin. So at the same time, you have to lift your sternum up towards your chin. So this is the way you do this. And after that, you have to just relax, and you have to you can lift your chin up and finish this bandha. So this is what is the way you do this bandha. And actually, for certain people, it can actually clear this nasal passages also. This Jalandhara bandha has been so useful in that way. The next bandha that I practiced is the Udyana bandha. It is actually an abdominal grip. So here the energy is made to flow from the lower abdomen to the up of the thorax. So it is that way it works, Udyana bandha. So I have practiced this Udyana bandha. So it once you practice this Udyana bandha, it gives you a focus on what you have to do, and you get a focus in everything you do. So by doing this, this is from my personal experience. I get, as I did this Udyana bandha, I got a focus on what I have to do. So how to do this Udyana bandha? You can do it in two different ways. Either you can do it by standing up, or you can sit down and do this Udyana bandha. First, you have to stand up and keep your spine straight. Then you have to bend your knees slightly. Then you have to keep around at least a feet distance between both of your knees. And then you have to slightly lean forward and put your hand on the thighs just above the knees. Then you have to take a couple of breaths and relax. So the one thing that we have to remember is that when you breathe in, you have to breathe in such that your stomach is completely in, like in this picture. So that gives you the best effect when it comes to this Udyana bandha. The final bandha is the Moola bandha. And it's nothing but contracting the pelvic floor. I think most of you would have heard about Ashwini Mudra. It is quite common when it is in yoga. So it is nothing but Ashwini Mudra. So you would have heard, like we would have heard from our ancestors, that horse has a extreme power of execution. We usually compare horse to the energy it has. So because horse has got that energy, because it is usually in Ashwini Mudra, it has that pelvic floor contracted always. That is the reason for its energy. So doing this Moola bandha, personally, I've got benefited is like I have got that power to execute whatever I think. That power I've got from this Moola Bandha. There are like step by step is like you have to sit down in a chair or a cushion, and you have to just contract your pelvic floor, and you have to do it like 5 times or 3 times based on your comfort. So that's how this bandhas work. Personally, when I go to those extreme emotions, I've always done these 3 bandhas. First, doing that Jalandhara bandha actually calms down my heartbeat. Then doing this Udyana Bandha gives me a focus on what I have to concentrate on. And finally, this Moola Bandha gives me the power to execute whatever I've thought. So this 3 has been a complete package, and it has helped me a lot to overcome from this emotional extremes that I was not able to overcome. So this has been very helpful, but it's preferable to do it with a professional, and according to their guidelines, doing it is it is the best. So this is all about the bandhas, and let me go with interpreting my report. So as you can see, this is my UID. Coming to the curriculum, I'm a focused learner. So being a focused learner, I've always liked to read step by step, everything step by step. And I usually take small portions of my syllabus, and I complete it first before taking the other portion. And multitasking has been never my cup of tea. So I usually learn one subject at once. Even in that subject, I just divide it into small parts. That becomes easy for me, and that's always been there. And I've luckily chosen state board in my secondary. Even from my school days, I've been into state board. So I think it matched with the curriculum. It matched. So I did not get any I did not face any difficulties because of choosing a state board. Coming to the adaptiveness, it's 66.42. It's above ideal. So sometimes I feel I am not able to stand on the point that I wish to stand. Sometimes because of other people, I become flexible. I just want to go with other people. So sometimes I'm lacking that stubbornness because of this adaptiveness, which sometimes is actually a hard point for me. Coming to the potential in primary, secondary, and university, as you can see, my primary energy, like primary potential is the highest, and second is the university, and last is the secondary. Actually, in my school days, I was a very good student in my earlier primary schoolings, and when it came to secondary, I did not perform how much according to my potential, and I was not able to perform well. And suddenly in university, I started to hold on ranks, and my parents and everybody were surprised. That leap between secondary to university was a great surprise for not only me, but my family also were so surprised as to how suddenly you're scoring so well. By then, I did not know what reason it was, and I was not able to know. I thought some sudden spell came into me. That is why I'm doing well in my university. But after MiDNA, I'm able to correlate that because my university is higher than my secondary. I was able to perform well in my university rather than in my secondary. So that is something which was a profound realization for me. Coming to the lobe-wise energies and adaptiveness, as you can see, my prefrontal, which is for execution, is higher when compared to the frontal lobe. So, which means like my planning actually lags, but my execution is so good. So that maybe because of my frontal lobe being, the energy of the frontal lobe being less when compared to the prefrontal lobe. So there is always a lag in my planning, and my planning always requires a reference. Only with a reference I can plan things. So that might be because of my lower energy in the frontal lobe. Coming to the parietal kinesthetic, so I'm basically a Bharatanatyam dancer. Maybe the fine motor skills, because of high parietal energy, I was able to do that. And usually people appreciate me for my expressions in Bharatanatyam rather than the body movements. So might be because of the left parietal energy being high, it was the reason for that. Coming to the temporal auditory, this is the highest of all the energies. So I'm very sensitive to sounds. I cannot sleep when there is a small disturbance or small auditory hindrance. With that, I cannot sleep. Maybe that's because my temporal lobe has got high energy. And coming to the dominance, as you can see, I'm more of a left brain person rather than a right brain person. So being a left brain person, I usually like sequential thinking, and a very step-by-step process is something that is good for me. I also think very logically. That might be because of my left brain dominance. And coming to the processing speed, left brain is normal, so it is average pace is there in carrying out thoughts and actions. And when it comes to right brain, the dominance is less when compared to left brain. So because I'm a left brain person, coming to the processing of right brain is fast. So when it comes to people, I think quite fast. Maybe that's the reason, because my right brain processing is fast. Coming to the memory, as you can see, my semantic memory and episodic memory are quite below average. Semantic memory is actually with it is not with personal experience. That is memory, any incident that is not by personal experience, but just common data, or it's just a common information, so general information. So that doesn't work well with me. I'm able to keep in mind those informations that I experience through my senses. So because it is a contradictory, maybe my semantic memory is low and my episodic memory is very low. If you ask me what happened in one particular day and at that particular time, I'll not be able to tell you, because my episodic memory is very less. When coming to the higher ends of these bars, my echoic memory is high. So maybe the audition there in the lobe-wise dominance is also high. So I'm able to keep in mind those things that I hear through my ears, so that I'm able to register well. So that's why my echoic memory is high. And my body memory is also high. So maybe that's why I'm able to perform well in dance, because my body movements, I'm able to register it well. And also those movements which I'm repeating it over time, I'm able to remember. So maybe that's because my dance career was good. Coming to this iconic memory, that is also good. So when I see something for a short period of time, I'm able to register that, and I'm able to keep that in my memory. Working memory again is also high. So coming to this working long term and sensory, as you can see, my sensory is the highest. So as I told you, I'm actually managing my dad's business. So when I go to the organization, and if somebody comes up with an idea, I don't just believe that idea just because they are saying. So I tend to believe that idea only when I experience that I have felt throughout for so long. But only after interpreting my report, I was able to know this is the reason. Because my sensory memory is high, I'm able to take in and store information that I experience through my senses. Comparing this working memory and long-term memory, my working memory is high. So I'm able to remember and recollect those information that I've learned very in a short span, which we call it as scratch pad. Yeah, so that is it. And long-term memory is very low. So for my exams, when I was very in my childhood, my mother used to prepare me before 1 month. She used to start preparing for my exams from like before a month, and that didn't work with me. I was completely blank when I go for my exams. I didn't know the reason then, but it's because of my long-term memory. So after that, I have started to prepare before day for the exams. Only that works for me. So that is there. And when it comes to whole brain, as you can see, both intuitive and sensory are higher on the left brain. So I think there's no conflict between the brain, like there's no conflict between the right and the left, because both are in the left. I'm comfortable, there's no conflict. If in my organization, if I don't want to recruit an employee, I'm very clear about the decision. I don't oscillate between taking him or relieving him. So I don't oscillate between that. When I take a decision, I try to stick on to that. And here is the reason for that, because my both intuitive and sensory is on the left. So there's no conflict between left and right. So that's actually an advantage for me. Coming to the subject preferences, as you can see, my interest and potential both are high when it comes to science. So in like coincidentally, I actually chose science in my 11th and 12th. I did not have this clarity, but somehow I chose science in my 11th and 12th. And I also went for NEET coaching. I had interest in that subject, but somehow something didn't work, so I had to drop out from that NEET coachings. For a long time, I did not know the reason for that. But after interpreting my report, I was able to find that maybe because of X, I actually hate repetitions. Like I need change. I don't like consistently doing the same thing monotonously. I really hate that. That I learned only after coming into MiDNA. So NEET classes where like you have to go monotonously read, you have to write exams, and that didn't work well with me. So maybe that is the reason I quit NEET and I went into another field of psychology. So coming to this vocational, again, vocational is the next highest for me. So vocational was also like I like learning practical things. I know lab classes are something that I really enjoyed in my 11th and 12th. Practical classes are I liked it very well. Vocational courses usually are of short spanned courses. So as I told you, I like taking small portions of work and completing that. So maybe vocational courses are like shorter ones. So that might also be my interest. Yeah. Coming to my smartness profile, as you can see, my music smart is the highest. So when I hear a song, I'm actually able to differentiate the pitch, the tone, everything. But my family members will not be able to differentiate that. So maybe because of my music intelligence, I'm able to do that. And I don't see it in only that angle. Maybe I can see it in my leadership also. When in my organization, I always had this ability to delegate jobs, differentiate the jobs of different people and delegate it to them at the right time for the right person. So I didn't know that was because of my musical smartness. So that was actually something that I learned. And coming to next is the logic and word smart. So logic smart, like I'm good at doing calculations. I'm able to good at quantifying things. So that is there. And when it comes to word also, I'm able to put my thoughts into words very well. And I'm able to play well with words. I'm able to persuade people by using words. And next comes the cosmic, like nature smart and picture smart is also good. And when it comes to cosmic, you might all think, because my cosmic is good, you might think that I'm into rituals. But again, X comes into play. Like because rituals are all very repetitive, I'm not into that. Like I like sitting peacefully, closing my eyes, sitting and taking that divine power into me rather than doing these rituals. That might be because of my ex. And when it comes to the lower ones, the self and people, these are the lowest ones here. The people is the lowest. There's always a weakness in me that I'm not able to understand other people's emotions. I'm not able to understand what other people are going through. That's always been a weakness for me. But compared to people, understanding myself is better, because myself is better than people. So understanding my own emotions, understanding what I am going through personally is actually good compared to that of the understanding people's emotions. Coming to adult learning domains, as you can see, the order of mine is first analytic, next introspective, and then interactive. For instance, if I have to come up with an idea for my organization, I generally start by putting that idea into pen and paper. Then I introspect to myself whether this idea will work or not. And only the last step will be to interact with other people and tell them about my idea. So because my interactive is quite low, all the ideas that I think in my mind, I might not be able to put it in when I talk to other people. So that's something that I have to work on, because maybe my idea might be good, but because my interactive is very low, I may not be able to interact it completely to the people who are hearing me. So that's something that I have to work on. When it comes to adult genetic quotients, as you can see, my EQ is the lowest. So as I've told you, I am not able to understand people's emotions, and I always maintain a detachment with people. I don't go into very intimate or connection with those people, because that might be good for my profession. As I told you, I took psychology. So maybe for psychology, that detachment could be a advantage. But when it comes to relationship, that's something that I have to work, and I have to improve on. My IQ is good, so this logical thinking comes good for me, and creative quotient is also good. I like doing creative things, and that's there. And coming to my disc profile, as you can see, my dominance strength is high. So generally, when I go to the organization, I like to have control. I like to have power of with other people, like with my employees. But since my adaptiveness is high, I'm just getting influenced. Maybe I'm getting influenced by my employees, and I'm just losing my dominance. So because of my adaptiveness, that doesn't work. When we go to the influence part, the strength again is high, but because of the adaptiveness, I start by with the thought that I have to persuade those people through my influence, but eventually I get persuaded by those by other people because of my adaptiveness. And coming to steadiness, this is something where I have got a great learning. In my organization, actually, before a month, like we wanted to hire a GM who can look after the operations. Till then, I was looking after all the operations. So I was not able to give the duties to him, because I feel like me doing all of the work is good, but he cannot do it. This is what I feel. So so what happens, he started to give all those work onto me, and that's because my steadiness, I cannot leave my team. Like I always try to protect my team, and so because of that, I think everybody puts on their work on me. So that's with steadiness. And when I come to this focus, goal and performance and process, the higher end is on the goal and performance. So I want goal to be done, like immaterial of the process that is involved in completing that goal. For example, if somebody gives me a goal as that I have to complete something on Wednesday, I just don't follow it up until Wednesday comes. I have to. I'll not follow that people, like what stage they are in completing that goal, like that. I go on Wednesday, and then I'll check whether that is done or not. Because my process is slow, I'm unable to follow them on a regular basis regarding that work. Coming to the work, task and technology people, I'm more oriented towards task and technology. For instance, if an employee comes to me and with two problems, say one problem is with the organization and one problem is his own or her own problem. I, as having task and technology on the higher end, I might choose the organization's problem first, and I solve that, and only then I come to that person's problem. That is, I'm choosing a task and technology over people. So coming to the work environment, I'm more of an I prefer more indoor workspace like office, rather than going out and working. That's I don't like working outside. Yeah. Coming to the disk subtrates, as we know, all of these are like two opposing pairs. So coming to persistence and sensitivity, I'm more on the sensitive side, but since it's more than one, it is more on the other side. So being sensitive, I've noticed that I'm able to like notice very subtle points in everything that other people's miss out. So me being very sensory memory is also high, and as I've told you, my emotional instability is also there. So I'm quite a very sensitive person. Coming to self-confidence and thoughtfulness, I'm more on the self-confidence side, but because it is more than one, sometimes it is a weakness for me. Like sometimes I feel hard to correct my own mistakes, but because I believe I'm always right. So that tendency is there, which I have to work on. Coming to self motivation and patience, self motivation is on the higher end. So for any task that I have to do, I don't look for motivation outside. The motivation to do that task comes from within. So that's maybe because my self motivation is high. Coming to cooperative and independence, I'm more on the independent side. So as I've told you, even in my studies, like I prefer studying alone rather than going for group study. During my college days, during the exams in the morning, they all my friends used to come together before exam, like 1 hour they sit and prepare together. So I come just maybe a 15 minutes before exam, because I want to escape that group study, because doing that group study is never my cup of tea, because it will confuse me more. So maybe because my independence is high, and even in dance is like that. I always prefer doing a solo performance in dance rather than a group performance. Coming to friendliness and efficiency, it is quite balanced. It is one and one. So even in my workplace, if I have a friend, I'll be able to balance them, and I'll just see them more professionally than personally, and so that balance is quite good. Coming to enthusiasm and accuracy, I'm more on the enthusiastic side, so maybe I spend more money when I go with friends and all. That's there. So coming to my strengths, as you can see, my strength on the skills is on the higher end. So in my organization, I have noticed that if a machine operator is on leave or an office staff is on leave, I don't feel that they are on leave. Like I go and do that. Like even machine operation, and I like doing that. Even typing work, I like, maybe because my skill is high. When it comes to development, it is higher. So in my organization, I come up with a lot of new innovative ideas. So we basically do packed drinking water. So a month back, I came with an idea of doing customized bottles for customers, which here my dad didn't think about. So maybe that's because my development is high, but when it comes to management, it is quite low. So I prefer developing products rather than managing resources or managing employees. This development is better for me. Coming to MGBI, energy and introversion extroversion, I'm a more an introvert person. Like I like being by myself rather than interacting with people and getting new contacts and I cannot initiate a conversation by myself. If somebody comes and talks, maybe then I'll talk, but I'll not be the person to go and start the conversation. That's maybe because my introversion is high. Input, intuitive sensing. I'm more of a sensing person. As we've already seen, my sensory memory is high. So any input that comes into me, I prefer taking it through my senses rather than my intuition. Process converging, diverging. I'm more of a converging person. So maybe I'm able to give one point solution for many problems. That's a strength. And decision thinking and feeling, I'm more of a thinking person, so I take decisions in my life not by feeling, but more of thinking will be there when I take a decision. And even if I talk to somebody or converse with somebody, it will be more of a transaction. My conversation will be more of a transaction rather than an emotional component that is attached with that. Maybe that's because my thinking is on the higher end. Coming to the lifestyle, judgment, perceptive being high. Sometimes there is procrastination there. I tend to postpone my work a lot. When it comes to studying also, and in business also, I tend to procrastinate things till the deadline. I'll not do that. Only before the deadline I'll start doing that. So that's because, maybe because my perceptive is higher. Coming to personality, aggressive and adaptive, I'm more on the adaptive side. But being this adaptive, maybe sometimes it is good, like I feel okay, like I'm able to flexibly bend to any situation. But when it comes to being a leader or in business, I think we have to be a little more stubborn to stand on our point. So that's quite like adaptiveness is being more, I have to like work on that. So that's with my report. Now let's start interpreting my parents' report. So Nityanandan, he's my dad, and I think you can see the UID R1, R1, A1, R1, A1, X1, C3, X3, A1, A1. So as you can see, the curriculum, he's again a focused learner like me. So he was also into state board, so he did not have much of a discrepancy. So coming to adaptiveness, it's again high. So I believe he's too flexible most of the time. I think he has to be a little more stubborn at a few situations. Coming to the potential, my dad's university is very high compared to the primary and secondary, which is quite low. Maybe that's because, like, my dad, even today, he has that urge to learn new things. Reading books and knowing a lot of things is an interest for him even today. He has that urge even today. Maybe that's because his university percentage is like 33 is the average, and he's got 42.11, so which is a very higher portion. When it comes to Lobi's energy and adaptiveness, as you can see, his prefrontal, like frontal, is having more energy when compared to the prefrontal. So his like his thoughts are more powerful. He's very good at planning rather than, like, when compared to execution. And coming to temporal, he has an 80 energy on the left temporal, which is audition. Like, he's very sensitive to sounds. And when he can just find whose bike it is just by hearing its sound. So that's I have wondered why and how he's able to do that. Just by the sound of a bike, he'll be able to tell whose bike it is. So that's because maybe his auditory left temporal is energy is quite high. And he has an R1 in the prefrontal. So I have a lot of times seen that he usually takes one person as a role model, and he tends to follow them for so long. And even now he has a role model whom he follows. But thank God, all of the role models he had were like good people. He had good mentors, so that's okay. But he has an R1 there. And he has also a C3, so he's a very good communicator. He wins any deal by just using his communicative skills. And he has an X3 in the right temporal. So that's maybe because of that he's very sensitive to sounds. And that's it. And his lobe-wise dominance, he's more of a left brain person, just like me. Yeah, he's more into sequential, step by step, more logical thinking he has. But the processing is quite moderate. It is quite slow. When it is the right brain, the processing is fast. So when it comes to people, even his processing is fast. So coming to my mother, she has an A1, A2, A4, A1, 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 C3, A1, A1, A1. So curriculum, she's an accelerated learner. So I think she had that ability to choose complex courses, but since she did not have that awareness back then, she did only normal courses, but she had that ability to do complex and challenging courses. And her adaptiveness is also very high, so it's more than ideal. She is also sometimes not stubborn, she's flexible. Her potential, again, her secondary and university are higher when compared to the primary. So on talking to her, I found that initially during her primary schooling, she suffered a lot to learn. Only in the higher secondary she was able to score good marks, and in university also she was a good student. So maybe that's because her primary percentage was low. She was not able to perform well in her primary schooling times. So her low-wise energy and adaptiveness, as you can see, her thoughts, like the prefrontal energy is quite low when compared to the frontal energy is low when compared to the prefrontal. So her thoughts are like, she has a planning lag maybe, but her energies are quite good. And as you can see, there is a 93 in her left temporal, 93 energy. So she wants to talk always, like she wants somebody to hear her talking always. Maybe that's because her left temporal energy is high. And she's a very good communicator, and when she's in a bad mood, all the word that comes will be like a knife. It will be so sharp. But when she's in a good mood, the way she motivates is so good. We get motivated like suddenly. And I think she has a C3 in the left temporal. So maybe that's because that may be the reason for her sharp words and all. And yeah, that's it. And she's also very good at accounts. Maybe that's because of the A4 on the left frontal. She's so good at accounts, and she always thinks earning money is very important, and spending it in a very proper way is something that's very essential. That is her belief. And that's it. And her left brain, she's also a left brain person, and it is moderate processing. And right brain is fast. So when it comes to people, she's very fast. Her brain processing is very fast. Yeah, so that's it. And uh, so thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would like to thank MiDNA for giving me this opportunity. And I would also like to thank my mentor, Mr. Bhupalan, for being a great guide in guiding me through this and making this happen today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shivani. Yeah, now the floor is open, and family members can unmute and give the feedback, please.
Shivani, you can close these
Okay.
these PPT.
Yeah. Yes, I also wish to hear from Sri Vishnu Priya also, because your sister is there. Okay, yeah. Anyone else, please unmute and speak.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, please.
Shivani, it was a very, very good presentation.
Thank you.
You were able to understand every aspect of the profile so well and explain every aspect. It shows what a great left brainer you are. Your thinking in your left brain is very, very clear.
Okay.
And And thanks for telling us about your how you overcame the X1 in your
Yes.
right frontal, where pranayama helps. So we can easily advise about this to others who have an X1 in their right brain, right frontal. That's one good learning I had today.
Okay.
And I was also surprised to see how you connected your mm, goal, because you're high in goal, and how you sort of achieved your goal in the last minute because your process was less. Because personally, my process being very high, I always wondered how people with low process managed. And so that was also a learning for me today. It was very enjoyable, fast paced, clear, and confident. You're a highly confident person. And I wish you all the best. I hope you can take MiDNA and GBP to greater heights. Welcome to the
Thank you.
family. It was fantastic, Shivani.
Thank
All
you.
the
Ma'am.
best
Thank
to
you
you.
so much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bona. Yeah.
Hi, congratulations, Seema this side.
Thank you, ma'am.
As per the self-discovery one is concerned, I see every time that new heights are being created. So that's really, good to see. And I appreciate your time management skill, because you have explained everything, and the way it was, reaching to mind, that was too precise. So I think your time management skills are too great. And thank you for sharing that X factor, because I too have started working on pranayam, but when it comes from evidence, like you have already overcome. So I think the authenticity is more and clear. So I'll surely use it for my nurturing children. All the very best.
Thank you.
Grow and glow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Seema. Yeah, yes, Sri Vishnupriya, you say a few words. Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please, you have found your sister there.
Yes. Very good presentation, ma'am.
Thank
All
you.
the very best. This is actually a right platform. Frankly speaking, 6 months ago I joined, I was clueless. And now I would say I'm having a bit of better understanding about me. All the very best in discovering yourself. Keep achieving more, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, anyone else?
Yes, Shivani, you nailed it. It was
Thank
a really fantastic session, the time management, and the compactly you put all the content on the slides. It was too good. It's a nice
It was because
presentation.
of your help also. Thank you so much.
End of the day, you are the main, no? All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Keep going and keep exploring yourself. That's the key part.
Thank you.
And every session, don't miss out. But just associate yourself on every Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
And there are a lot of learnings are available. And don't miss out.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Bala. Yes, anyone else? Okay, so let us conclude the session with some feedback and remarks. I know that you will do very well, because left brainer, self-smart is better. Maybe I would say little more sensory distribution, or sensory is little more strong. So probably you might have to read and probably practice little more. But I think for self-discovery one, it is more than needed. So I give almost 9 out of 10 for your presentation.
Thank you, sir.
The 1 mark less is given because I wish you had a little more shared the your parents' reports, that last page, the MGBI.
Yeah.
Though I happened to see your PPT, I did notice at that point of time, but then I felt it is too late to introduce and add to it. So I said it's all right.
Okay.
Maybe because with your clarity and ability to connect with your parents' report, I'm sure you could have spoken little more about your father and mother. Nevertheless, I'm sure more and more understanding will happen when you start interpreting others' reports over a period of time.
Okay.
Because in your report, I think it is fairly more than enough understanding is there. But when it comes to your parents' reports, there are some aspects that probably you could have highlighted.
Okay.
And in fact, I would say, if I take your personal report interpretation and make a video bite, this is what a demonstration of a capital X and 9 compartments A and 1 compartment X. If somebody asks, give me an audio bite, I think this video, this session presentation is the very apt, sample demonstrating interpretation of a report. So that way you have made every aspect very, very clear. And yes, as you very rightly said, emotions are coming from the right temporal, where you are slightly more than the left. Your right temporal is 2 points more than the left temporal. It is quite significant for a focused learner. That's important.
Okay.
Now, the number 2 is, that means you are being a female and with a slightly stronger right temporal, your emotions are slightly on the higher side.
Okay.
But because in the right frontal, the emulative process is feeling and the stimulative process is thinking. That is how in cognitive domains have feeling and thinking on the right side, thinking and feeling on the left side.
Okay.
So you are thinking on the left side, no issues, but on the right side also you are thinking. That means the feeling is missing. The emotions plus feeling is a very positive combination. Okay, they get expressed on an emotional level. But this emotions plus thinking is actually not a right combination. In fact, they behave like a cognitive pattern because of the feeling or the primary processor in the right temporal mating with the thinking process, that the reverse loop on the right frontal makes it to behave like a cognitive processor there. That is why that feelings and emotions are not really getting smoothened out. It is actually rebelling. So instead of flowing out, it is actually you are building a dam. It is the flow is getting stuck there. Now, once it overflows or once it breaks, then it is like a dam being broken. It plays a havoc. Okay, and very, very rightly, at a very younger age, you have tried into all these breathing exercises, because the breathing, the pranayama or the prana that you are trying has something to do with managing your emotions, not through the frontal lobe, but through the prefrontal.
Prefrontal. Okay.
Because once you stop your what is the current what is a dormant thinking process, now you are raising your levels of thought process to the higher level, and thereby the awareness comes, and that awareness helps you to handle these emotions, get expressed in a kind of fire is there, you put soil on it, you put water on it, and you diffuse the fire. That is how it is. And I think you have rightly identified the methods. Like Seema said, I think all those mentors out there must keep this kind of practices, trying with their family members and the clients whom they are meeting. I think it's a great learning opportunity for me, learning, for me as well. Now, one more thing I just wanted to add on is in the disk profile,
Okay.
your S is less.
Yes.
Okay,
Steadiness.
and yeah, steadiness is less. And again, I continue to believe this reverse loop, because there is 9 compartments which are having only the emulative processor,
Okay.
out of which 4 compartments are rather 4 compartments are having the feminine energy, this X1 being the masculine energy. It brings out a lot of creative ideas and probably handling a lot of issues with a lot of confidence, and that's where the self-confidence also is coming. Just I wanted to say, because of this steadiness, you said 2 statements. One is you wanted to have control on the employees or the staff who are working at your company. At the same time, you also said that you are wanting to delegate the authority and the power to others also. That is, both of them are right, because once you get to know about their capabilities, then you will delegate the authority, not straight away. That is one thing, very useful learning. And the second thing is, you very rightly do, you don't do micromanaging. Okay, that comes from people who are left frontal cognitive. They do a lot of micromanaging. They chase people because they are behind people, because the task has to be completed. Because your independence is slightly higher and your self confidence is higher, you think that even if they don't do it at the last minute, you can do it. That is actually bringing some leadership qualities. And as you very rightly said, your music smart is about how you let people to go through it. But obviously, you think that you are what their performance is also reflecting on your performance. So it's a kind of, I want to have a control, at the same time I trust you also. Both of them are coming.
Yes.
And that risk taking or letting people let them fail so that they correct it very easily. So I think somewhere it's a kind of leadership qualities are definitely coming in. And with your capital X, which always try to bring that confidence in the work also, because of the kind of ego that builds in because of your performances. I think all that are being amplified by the capital X on the right front. Yeah. And one more thing I just wanted to say, that a very important point it made. In fact, I would say, I have repeatedly told, the capital X or the small x in the right frontal actually are struggling a lot. They are very scared about telling about themselves, because they feel highly embarrassed when people come to know I am having some difficulty. They feel highly depressed, and emotions are actually overwhelming for them. And because of which, in the self discovery session also, they are not opening up that easily. Okay, they try to beat around the bush, saying that this is that because of that, which they're not to the point.
Okay.
And because your capital X is on the right frontal, you have very emphatically said, this is my problem, this is my difficulty, this is my weakness, and this is what I am working on. Working on everybody does, but unless otherwise you agree and accept there is a difficulty, I think you do not, it doesn't heal you that easily.
Yes.
So the good thing happening to all those who have small x or capital X on the right frontal is, sooner or later they open up. I personally believe if you have a small x in that right frontal lobe, then you open up, but very long. It takes a little longer time. You know the mistake, but you don't want to admit it because of the fear of maybe people will not like me kind of thing. But if you have a capital X, you just say, open it and say, yes, this is what I am. I have nothing to hide. And if you want to like it or you don't like it, it's your problem. I have no issues about it. I think that's a great learning that I have seen. And MiDNA Global Network has repeatedly demonstrated those who are having small x and capital X in the left frontal always have struggled in doing the counseling, because unless otherwise you don't face the challenges, you will not be able to overcome them. That's a very, again, you have proved it very rightly. Now, one more thing I wanted to keep it as a learning for the day is, see, everybody faces the problem. Now you have two choices. One is you eliminate the problem. You cut it off. You say, this is over, now no more. Suppose something is troubling. You just plug it out and throw it in the dustbin and say, now the problem is not there. The other way is you find a solution to it. Okay, the issue exists, but you have managed it, you have solved it in a better way. So problems everybody is facing. A converging person, especially with a right frontal capital X, they're actually getting rid of it. That's what we are saying, detachment. That's what we are saying, cutting it off. That's what saying, I don't worry about it. That's what you say, I don't bother about it kind of thing. Because once it is bothering, it is like nails. If the nails are punching you, it is giving you pain. Then you take a nail cutter and cut it. Now the problem is solved.
Yes.
Now the alternative way of handling nails which are poking you is take a cloth and cover it up, put a gloves. Okay, now also you are solving the problem. But one thing is cutting it off and eliminate the problem, and the other one is solving the problem. So I think converging comes for those who are more converging. They look forward to eliminate them and probably end up having either one thing or there is nothing to solve. Also, it is that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's one more thing. And when it comes to your your father's report, I must tell he was the first one to come along with Bhupalan.
Yes.
To me, at that point of time, I must be very honest in it. I was a bit perplexed to interpret the report. Usually, I do it instantaneously. I give a counseling, but with the kind of report, I just saw all R's everywhere and C3 there, X3 there, all possible what you can say patterns were there. Really, I had a very difficult time to really interpret. But then I did, as usual, I do it as I just don't see the person, his background. I just go through the report and whatever is concurring, I take it as whatever I have learned. Whatever is not concurring, I'll think about it and then subsequently do it. So definitely, your father's report was a big challenge for me at that point of time because C3 and X3 are really very complex with all reflective patterns in the prefrontal, except that even in the left frontal, all of them are reflective. So he is so much sensory. But as you very rightly said, he probably had a good leader to follow, a person who was really, emulative, and a lot of, feedbacks we shared the other day. And somebody told that when your father speaks, it is like hearing his leader. Okay, it is like if you close your eyes, the person who was his mentor, the leader, his language and your father's language used to be ditto. Okay, that your father also agreed that I just speak whatever is I'm told to speak. I don't deviate from that. So they were all quite motivating and rewarding feedback for me from your father. Of course, I haven't met your mother because your father came with Bhupalan and one more person, I think Mr. Viswanathan Ji. And that was a great learning for me. Very interesting points just before I conclude the session is all three of you are left brain.
Yes.
All three of you are development oriented people. Okay, all of you have slightly on the developmental side. And what is that message I am trying to tell is there are some conflicts. There is no doubt about it. You being having a capital X, you also tend to become very sensitive and you will fire. Though you are affective personality, but when you fire in all cylinders. And your mother doesn't have an X, but because of the C3 there, it will also open up fire. So that's also verbally very, very strong. Your father with so less of intuitiveness. Okay, he is more sensory. And for him, the C3 and the X3 this is a double barrel gun. It can fire from all cylinders. So somewhere within the family, there are reasons which are very naturally conflicts can come in. But your father being reflective, it doesn't get expressed. It doesn't get new ideas how to differently fire every time. So I think that's a disadvantage there. You being an affective personality and being a girl child, you also know how to handle them. And your mother is also similar. So there are some flaring up happening, sensitive, discomfort, what you can say, conflicts and all definitely coming in. What I would like to conclude saying is, because all three of you are on the left side of the brain, you will have to get one person, somebody, either in the organization or in the relative side. And all three of you must become little more extroverted, consciously and right. Your father maybe connects with people to some extent in the political area, but that's not social actually. Okay, but because he is a reflective personality, he can get molded to the person, the team that he is connected with. But you and your mother are seeing only one side of it, probably on the left side of it, professionally, and probably on the materialistic and the task and the business point of view. All of you are very, very comfortable. But I would just like to be little more conscious and cautious, both towards this building relationships, socializing, family, and a joint family. Because you are young now, when you get married, please consciously, my advice is, please consciously choose an extroverted family who enjoys more and more socializing. It will be more irritating and not very comfortable, but I think I wish you should choose it, because that will be the best way that you come out of this so much of introversion. Otherwise it will get too much of recycling, and in fact your mother is more likely to be more obsessive compulsiveness is also coming in, because there is an A4 which is very strong, and there is a C3 that's also strong. So put together 93 and a strong number in A4, she is more likely to get obsessed with certain process, which probably in the long run will create a kind of compulsiveness to her, though you may not get into that compulsiveness, but she will get into. So I think you being a psychologist and a person who is dealing with this counseling, I only bless and wish the God give you opportunities to go through a lot more counselings. Thereby, you talk about being open and socializing, embracing the new social situations and all. I think thereby it slowly gets into, sinks into your thought process that yes, too much of left brain is not good for anything. A holistic brain experience is what ultimately we all should work on. Unfortunately, most of the time we are living with our strong lobes, and we are not touching our not so-called strong lobes, what we call as less energy lobes. I wish, and please stick to this genetic brain profiling. Your self-transformation will happen only with genetic brain profiling. The steadiness is the only challenge, but I'm sure you can handle it with a limited number of counselings. But I think if you get into this process for a bigger population, I think a lot of self-transformation will come. I wish you all the very best. I'm sure with your self-discovery 2.0, you would really come out with a lot of learnings from your clients' reports. And I think you being mentored by Bhupalan, sooner or later you will handle counselings on your own very, very comfortably, because of the you being a psychologist, and you have a capital X, and you also being very converging in your thought process. I think more favorable towards learning it. Only challenge for you that would be is too much of feeling oriented people, the FJs and all handling will be a little more difficult. But I think you can always develop make a small team of 2-3 people to whom you can assign the work and be there as an expert commentator, an expert a communicator with the genetic brain profiling counseling. So all the very best.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you have done your Spark program some time back, but I think that time you were UG, now you are PG, and you have demonstrated that in your presentation as well. So all the very best.